today we begin the second phase where we are looking at, or the third phase or something. We're looking at data analysis, right? So we have the data, we've learned how to import the data, we've learned how to clean the data. Now, how do we now take the step further and analyze the data, right? So that's what we're looking at today, right? Data analysis, right? I mean, this week and next week, and I think, yeah, for the next 2 weeks there about, I believe so, right? We're looking at data analysis. So how do we now analyze the data we have been given? So today we are focusing on just three things. But those, I mean, the final one is the major one, right? It looks very simple, but it's going to be the basis for majority of the other things. I mean, I'm going to show you the reason or the variation. Oh, sorry, I'm going to show you the reason why you need a data table in any analysis you're doing, right? Essentially, a continuous analysis, right? But let's start with name range. I know this was not part of what I'm going to talk about today, but I mean, we'll just start with that, right? So, oh shoot, I've already done it already. But either way, so as I mentioned earlier, sorry, any issue? Okay. So now you can just, as I mentioned, that Excel reads, actually if you're using A1 referencing, right? So you read it from column and row. So for example, this is name box here. What we have here is column 5 row, I mean column F row 5, right? So Excel names it based on column then row, column and row, column and row, right? But you can customize the naming, right? You can name a particular cell and you can name a range of cells. You can name a particular cell and you can name a range of cells. For example, right? This is in the name box. Excel is seeing this as C5, for example, right? C5, right? But I can change the name, right? And I can make it let's say 20. I just call it USA 23, right? So basically, the sales of USA in 2023, right? So I call it USA 2023, right? And what's what we see here is that in the name box, right, it's a change from C5. So now, sorry, I did not press enter, right? So USA 23, for example, I press enter, right? Did I press enter? I did not press enter again. So USA 23. Oh, okay, sorry. I've named something USA 23 already before. So let me just come and just let's say US 23, for example, right? Something wrong with my Excel. Okay. Now, you can name a range or you can name a cell. I don't know why, for some reason, but let me come back again. Let me just name it. I think I've done a condition before. So I just call it Yeka, for example, right? So this is Yeka, right? Yeka, right? Um, so if I go anywhere and I press equals to Yeka, right, it will give me that cell. What is in that cell, right? So anywhere I go to, right, and I press Yeka, right, I use Yeka because I think USA is something is already used in this sheet, right? Because I've done multiple things of this sheet, so I mean I can't use USA 23, right? So anywhere I go to, anywhere I type on anywhere in my Excel, right, and I press Yeka, it brings me that 12. So you can custom name a particular sheet, a particular cell, right? So for example, right, I've already custom. So let's say I come here and I want to I want to custom name this particular one, right? I can name it anything you want to name it, right? So instead of referring to that particular cell, you can refer to the name cell you have, right? And the only rule about naming a cell is that when you're naming a cell, you cannot have space. So for example, I can't say this is let's say I want to name this Esther A, right? I cannot put Esther space A. It has to be Esther A together, right? I can name it as long as I want, but it should just be one string of text, right? There's no space in between, right? I can add numbers, I can add anything, but it must just be one string of text. Do you understand? That's how to name a cell, and you can also name a range of cell, right? You can also name a range of cell, right? For example, right, this is I can come here and just make it. I mean, it's instead of naming one cell, I can name a range of cells. So if I want to name this everything here, I can come and just call this sales 24, for example, right? And I press enter, right? So this four, right, is sales 24. The four of them is sales 24. So if I go somewhere and I put equals to sum sales 24, it will sum everything in sales 24, right? So you can name a cell, you can name a range of cells. The only thing is that when you're naming it, you cannot have a space. Are we clear on that? So can we move to the next thing. Can we clear? Yay, nay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Sorry? Okay, thank you so much. So now let's go to dynamic naming, right? And I will tell you, I mean, as you go along, I think on the final day we have like I think on the 15th or so, or maybe on Monday, I'm going to give you like our final project we're going to work on the final day. Final day, like 31st, right? I'm not doing anything, just for us to just see that final project. So everything we have used, we're going to try as much as possible to put it together into practice, into one boxing. Now, dynamic naming, right? Basically, it is I've thought to how to name a particular cell, name a range, right? But for dynamic naming, right? Let's say you have something that you want to do and you want to change every time, right? For example, like this is the P&L for Google, for example. And let's say we want to maybe the name change or something and change to Meta, right? The figures change. Like we can use the same thing and just change the like for dynamic naming, we can name this thing instead of being PNL Google. If I change it in one place, let's say I change Meta here, it changes to PNL Meta, right? If I change it to Amazon, for example, it changes to PNL Amazon, right? So basically, for dynamic naming, it is a way to make your naming conventions or what you're using, right, dynamic, right? And there are different use cases for it, right? And we'll see that as we go along, right? How to dynamically name something, right? And the way to dynamically name something is basically everything I've taught us before, right? It's nothing new. So let's say you want to change the name of this, right? It is P&L. So what is there is P&L, right? Profit and loss account, right? But you want to say, oh, this profit and loss account for Amazon, or it changes to Google, or it changes to, or you want to change the company name, right? The way we'll do it is that we will write it as a formula, right? And because let's say what we want to achieve is P and L, right? Then the company name. So maybe P and L, then a semicolon and Google, right? Right. This Google will be the changing factor. So Google, it can change from Google to Amazon to different things, but P and L will remain the same, right? If we want to write it in a formula, right? As a formula, right? We press equals to. Don't forget to start the formula in Excel is equals to. If I want to write now P and L P and L and the column sign, right, will not change. Will always be P and L and column sign. If I want to add P and L and column sign in a formula, what will I do first? If I want to add P and L and the column sign in a formula, what will I do first?
double quotes.
Double quotes. Why? Why double quotes?
Because they are letters.
Yes, because the letter, right? It's not a number, right? So I put a double quotation mark and I put P and L, and you can write anything you want to write, right? Quotation mark, right? So that's the first thing I want to write. Now, and I also want a space. So I want P and L quotation mark space. I can put the space there, right? So this is my first thing, right? I press enter, right? But I want P and L and the name of the company. P and L and the name of the company, right? So what I can just do here is based on what I've learned as well. I think it's the 9 or the 8. I'll just put the ampersand sign. That is and. And now instead of me writing Google, but because I know it may change, I will just reference where the names of the company is. So it will be P&L, full column, and Amazon, and I press enter, right? So this column, this formula is dynamic, meaning that it can change, it can take different forms. So if I come and I put Google here, it changes to Google. If I come and I put Facebook here, it changes to Facebook. If I come and I put EY here, it changes to EY, right? So do we understand how to dynamically name something? Is it clear? Clear? Not clear? Is it clear?
Not too clear, please.
Okay, so I will just go over it one last time. It takes, and I will just refer you to the 7 or the 8. Just watch the video on YouTube. I think that's on YouTube already, right? What we're doing is just adding two things together, right? The first one to add is P and L, right? P and L, and next one to add is the name of the company. So all I did was equals to, but to put a text, right, in a formula, you put it in double quotation mark. So I put P and L, right? P and L, right? And that's right. So this is the first part of my formula. The next thing I want to do is that I want to add the company name, but the company name will be changing, right? So when I come here, I put the ampersand sign. I thought it was ampersand. I'm not going over it again because I thought it in the 7 or the 8, right? Ampersand is just basically add, right? So I'm adding this and the name of the company, right? That's all I did, right? So if I come here, anytime I change the name from, let's say I put yo-yo or something, it changes, right? The end of the name changes, right? So I've made this a dynamic, I've made this formula a dynamic formula. That means it can change based on how I change the input, right? I hope it's clear now. I hope it's clear now.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry? Go ahead.
Sorry. The day you taught us that ampersand sign concatenation,
Yeah.
you mentioned we can put that ampersand sign, or we can actually leave like a space. So is it possible to put it here too?
Oh no, I don't say you can leave a space, right? I said if you want to add the space, right, you put the and, I mean the space in double quotation, but I've already put my space here already, right? So my space is here already. So there's no need for me to put that space again. I don't know if it's clear to you, right? But like we can always go back. I mean, you can go back. Just what I advise that you go back again to that concatenate, and I think that was on Sunday, right? Go back to it again and try and listen to what I said, right? It's a bit different, right? But same logic. Okay, so I'll come back to dynamic naming if we still have time, but let's quickly go to data table, which is the last one we want to talk about, right? So I also ask a question number one: is this a table in Excel? Yes or no? Is this a table? Do you consider this a table?
Yes.
Yes, no, right? Who is yes, who is no? I mean, why yes, why no?
It is. Yes, because of it's very understandable. And you have to remember to put the space.
Sorry, for the table?
Sorry, he does not know what he's saying. It's my son. We do it together.
Oh, okay, that's nice. Okay, so typically, right, it is a table. This is a table, right? This is a table, right? But in Excel, is a table, yes, but it's not a data table. They are two different things. So this is a range table, a range table. There's so please just follow me. There are two kinds of table in Excel. There are data table and there's a range table. This what you have here, right, is a range table. What you have here is a range table, right? It's not a data table. A data table is different from a range table, and I will explain the difference between data table and range table. Please just try and listen very carefully because it makes a whole lot difference, right? Now, in a range table basically means this, right? Like if I highlight everything in the table, right? I highlight the full table, right? From top to bottom, right? Right. You can see there's no name, right, on the table, right? If I highlight this, right, there's no name. You can just see it's just referencing anything, right? And a data table is not intuitive. I mean, a range table is not intuitive, right? So if I'm referencing, I mean, I believe we know what referencing means by now, right? If I'm referencing this table, right, this table in Excel, right, if I add a new column, let's say I add 2023 now, for example, right, this table, so let's say I'm referencing this table. So this table is from roll, please follow me, it's from B5 to I15111. Oh, sorry. Let me even make the table shorter so we understand, right? So let me just say table is from. Let me just use this table, right? So this table is from B5 to I21. So it's from B5 to I21, right? Now, if I'm referencing this table, it's a range table, right? Let's say I'm referencing, or I'm using this table to do some analysis somewhere else. That's what I mean by referencing, right? If I'm referencing this table in another sheet or anywhere else, right? It will only be from B5 to I21. It will forever be from B5 to I21. It will not be anywhere. But let's say I now add a new, let's say I have the information for 2021, right? And I add some new information like this, right? Now, anywhere I've referenced this table will not factor in this 2021 because this 2021 is a new addition. The table I reference is B5 to I21, right? So forever and forever, it will be B5 to I21 because it's a range table, right? So I'm referencing a range table. The range table is not intuitive. So if I add new columns under, right, under it, right, so new rows under it, the range table will not pick it. If I add new columns, for example, let's say I add profit now, for example, profit here, right, and I add the profit or something, right? Will the range table pick it or not? Will it pick it or not? Will the range table pick it? Will it expand? Yes or no? Based on what I've taught you, range table. No. It will forever be just the same way, right? The same way, right? So there are plus to it and there are minus to it. But generally, when you're using data continuously, right? You're using this data, right? And the data may be added to or may be removed from, right? Generally speaking, it will be more preferable to use a data table than a range table because a range table is fixed, right? That's how it is, right? If you want to change a range table, let's say you add a new column, you have to go to everywhere you have reference and change it. Let's say you've forgotten that you use this range or you are referencing this table, right? And you're doing an analysis somewhere else, right? And you're referencing that table. And let's say more data has been added, right? You have to go to every analysis you use that range table and manually change the range and say, oh, it has increased, oh, it's now B5 to I51 or I1000 and something, right? You have to manually do it. So that's why it's advisable that you use a data table for all analysis. Now, for everything we're going to use it, from VLOOKUP to, tomorrow when we get to VStack and VColumn, do we understand the use of data table? But I will not jump the gun, right? But I'll just advise you, your tables in every analysis should be a data table, should not be a non-data table. And how will you know a data table from a non-data table? And how do you create a data table? As I said, there are multiple ways, right? There are always multiple ways to do multiple things, right? In Excel. Sorry, a minute. Sorry, something just came up and I have to attend to it. Okay, so now the way to create a data table. Now let me show you also data table, right? And let's do it together, right? So the way to create a data table first is to highlight the table, right? The range table, right? So everything will begin with the range table, right? So you highlight the table that you want, right? You go to data, right? You highlight the table, go to data, right? And what you will see here under get and transformation, you will see from table to range, right? From table to range, right? So basically, this is where you change a range table to a data table, right? So it's just a range table to a data table. So what we want to do here is we want to transform this from a normal. Sorry. What we want to do is that we want to convert it from a normal table to a data table. So we click on this, right? And when you click on this, it brings a pop-up menu. So can you see that pop-up menu on my screen? I don't think I'm sharing my full screen. Can you see that pop-up menu on my screen? Yes or no?
Yes.
You can. Okay, yeah, perfect. Now you start. It brings a pop-up table and says it highlights the table from B5 to I blah 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 blah, right? And we say, oh yes, see the table. And there's a tick box here. My table has headers, right? I say yes, so Excel, my table has headers, so please help me. And I click on OK, right? Once you do that, it will open what you call a Power Pivot, right? And I'm having a full session on Power Pivot sometime in May or June or July. I don't know. Like it's going to be like maybe like 2 or 3 days, right? Or a day or two. Sorry, not 2 or 3 days. 31. I mean, 31 days has been a lot of stretch on me. So we want one day most likely, right? But we'll bring out something like this, right? But Um, I'm not because I'm not teaching us power pivots, right? I will not talk too much about this. All you have to do once you bring this up is go to close and load, right? So when you have close and load here, I will just close it and load it. That's all you need to do, right? No, there's no need to do any other thing. Just close it and load it. That's all. Close it and load it. We're not doing any other thing, right? Now, if you notice, it will bring out a new, like there was a new sheet that was created here, a new sheet, and they call it table one, right? A new sheet was created for us, and they call it table one. What me primarily I would do, I would delete this table, right? This is more like this is what Excel did for me, right? I will delete it, right? But if I come to my original table, this is my original table. You can see that there's still some changes on this my original table, right? You can see that there's some lines there, there's some new formatting stuff that Excel has done, right? Now, another thing that you will notice, right? Another thing you notice that once you click on the table, something appears up here, table design. So I click out of it, there's nothing that is here, right? Once I click on the table, you see what you call a table design, right? A table design, right? So, and if you click on the table, you see that it has a table name called table one. So this is what you call a data table, right? But what I also do is because Excel will always format it in, your own formatting may be different. Your own, your own, it may change to green, it just changes to anything, right? So I come to table design, right? Under table design, in table styles, table styles here, I put that and I clear it. Basically, I'm clearing any style that it did for me, right? So it basically defaults it to my previous style, to my previous table, right? It defaulted to my previous table, right? So this is what called an Excel table. Now, let me tell you the usefulness of an Excel table, right? Now, let's go down, right? If you go down, you see that I don't know if you can see on your screen or in the one you are doing as well, right? You see that on the table there's like a small, I don't know if the arrow or what you call it, right? Can you see this blue mark? This blue marker here. Let me highlight it on my screen. Can you see this blue mark here?
Yeah, but yeah,
right?
It's a bit tight, Yes.
Yeah. So it should be on all your tables if you are following me or if you are doing with me, right? It should be there, right? So this basically signifies that it's a data table, right? Another way to say it's a data table, right? So now watch what happens to it, right? Now, if I come under, right, and I type 2024, right? Now, so if I come here and type 2024 and I type some numbers here, right? What you will notice is that if I come on and I type 2020, now this is a data table, right? If I come here and I type 2024, right, you will automatically notice that Excel has added it to my table, because before, if I click out of it, there's no table design. But now, if I click on 2024, you can see the table design there, right? So basically, you can add more data to this, right? So let's say add a data, and you can see that this my sign here, right, as is now here. Like if I click on it, right? Let me click on 24. You can see that the sign that I had, that small box now, is now going to be residing in where we have 2024, this extra line here, right? So if I had done that in 2025, you will see that that line will automatically move and will move to 2025, right? So basically, the table will it will just be expanding, right? And if you're doing an analysis on the table, right, you have to go back to the analysis that you did to change it. The table will automatically keep increasing, because what you're referencing is the data table, and as long as the data table is increasing, your analysis will also be factoring it. The same way for if I add a new column, for example, let's say I want to add profit margin. What you see, you will notice that immediately profit margin has a filter box, and you see the table design, right? So I can add new rows, I can add new columns, I can add new rows, I can add new columns, and my data table will keep on expanding or flowing with it. Do you understand? Do you understand? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, right. So I want to leave it, as this. Tomorrow we begin with this stack, right? And I'm going to do like just a short reminder of data table, and I will show you how important data table is for a VStack. I mean, you start seeing this from VStack and Vic, I mean, and CStack, right? Vertical stacking and column stacking, basically, right? You start seeing the impact of data table. But just know that data table helps you. I mean, if you're analyzing anything from a table, right, or a tabular form, make sure it's in data table. There are times when data table, range table is better, right? And I will tell you when, right? There are times when range table is better because range table also has its benefits, right? There's a reason why there's a range table and there's a data table, right? Both of them have their benefits, right? But generally speaking, for a data that will keep on changing, right? And especially for that, I mean, if the data will not change, it's fine. I can use my range table. But if data will change, I will use my data table. Finally, time has gone. How do you convert it back to a range table? So let's say this is data table now, right? And I mean, how can you identify data table quickly, please? Just, I mean, we are 1 minute out of time already. How can you identify a data table? Anybody?
It has like that blue marker at the end of it.
That's the blue arrows.
That's number one. Number two is what?
Table design.
Perfect. Now, the way to change it from back to a normal table is to highlight the table. You go to table design. You see convert to range, right? Basically, you have to. Do you want to convert the table to a normal range? If I click on yes, it converts to a normal range, and you can see that the table design stuff is gone. If you come under there, there's nothing like blue or anything here, right? So that's the way to make it data table and to clear data table, right? To make a data table, go to data, from table to range, follow the process. To go back, just go to what do you call it again? Design, convert to range, and that's all, right? Thank you guys so much for joining this class. I know I promised that I will upload the other sessions, but I mean, time has not been my best friend, but I will get time, I will do it, and it will be on my YouTube channel. So please make sure you subscribe. Thank you so much for everybody for joining, and see you tomorrow. We'll look at VStack and column stack. Thank you guys.